The men that are the best in bed are men who are younger and men who don't watch porn. I bet you didn't expect me to say that. I bet you thought that older men are more experienced and better in bed, and that porn makes people better because they have gotten so much information. Not at all. I was an escort for many years. I also hooked up after my divorce with many men, mostly men in their early 20s, and I really liked how passionate they were. And I'm going to tell you why younger men are better in bed. In general, even the older men would really try to please me in my appointments. You know, they want to give me orgasms, they want me to enjoy myself, but they were missing the empathy component. And I attribute this to their upbringing. I'm 63 now, and men that are in their 50s and 60s and older, they were raised at a time when boys were shamed for having feelings. They were shamed. If they fell or if they cried at all, they were told, sissy, they were called sissies. Don't cry, you're a sissy. Be tough, be strong. If they got hurt playing sports or broke something, you play. Don't let down your team. Be a man, be strong, swallow your feelings. That's what they were told. Now, it might not be 100% of men, but that was the culture at the time. Even men in their late 40s would have experienced this type of upbringing, especially if you come from like a type of family that was like, we don't do feelings. I think Hispanic families could be better, but certainly not Irish, English, American families. And if they showed any emotion at all, or teared up, or had feelings, they were shamed. I don't think it was encouraged for them to play with dolls or hold their little siblings. I don't know, but I do know that they were shamed for crying, shamed for having feelings. So what do? You learn not to have feelings. You learn very quickly and you adjust and you have to push your feelings down. Now, that doesn't mean you turn into an abuser or something. It just means you become disconnected from your feelings because you grow up not being attuned to your feelings. And if you can't feel your own feelings, you can't feel someone else's feelings. And then sex becomes a very kind of mechanical thing that either they just use it to get off, or even those that are more kind, they try to do the right thing, but they're fumbly because sex requires being in your body. And being in your body means physically, emotionally, mentally being present. For a lot of men, the first time they're with a woman, they can be really nervous and they won't be able to enjoy themselves. They won't be able to get hard. They won't be able to ejaculate. And that's totally normal. But that's another example of not being in your body because you're nervous, you're not relaxed. So you have to be relaxed and feel safe. You can't have resentments against the woman. You won't get hard. And you have to be able to tell if she's enjoying herself and if it feels good or not. You have to be willing to have those conversations with your partner. And this is what young men do. When I've talked to young men, I'm talking early 20s all the way into their early 30s. They get it. They know exactly what I'm talking about. They're extremely passionate. I had some amazing sex with guys that were just, I mean, they were all 18 and up, but very young, because they're very passionate. They grew up at a time when you accept people. It's okay. It's encouraged for men to have friendships. It's encouraged for men to have feelings, be more emotionally expressed. And they just are more attuned. They're just more attuned. That's all I can tell you. And yeah, I think there are other things that make people good in bed, such as, being confident in asking for what you want, saying what you like, just being comfortable, taking risks like dirty talk or trying new things. You have to be comfortable and respectful of your partner. The other reason that porn makes men bad in bed is because they can only get turned on when the woman does that porn thing. They're so wired to masturbating and getting aroused to very I'm going to say violent stimuli. Choking on a penis is violent. It's a type of domestic abuse, in my opinion. Now, these guys would not ever force it on down my throat, but that's what they wanted. I'm talking about like really successful, hot, professional men, the kind of men that get many women. But if they're single for a long time, they're not dating, they're not in a relationship because they're very busy working. They work from home, they get bored, they get horny, they put on some porn. A lot of these guys have stopped watching porn. But if they're still watching porn, they're used to, they want it super sloppy. They want the woman to choke on it. They want the woman to gag on it. It turns them on, and they're not able to come unless the woman is doing that or they're masturbating. So those are things, if that is what the guy needs, that's not fun. I mean, you try choking on something, that's abusive and that's violent. It's a form of violence, actually. And when women do that, I would say that they're performing, because would you want to stick something down your throat? Do you ever get so turned on? You can get turned on enough where you get super, engorged, super wet. You make a lot of sounds, maybe you're even scratching his back. You're so excited. But choking, I don't know. I think that's all performative. And men who expect women to behave like the violence that we see in porn are not going to be good in bed, because their expectations of what's arousing is not what a woman is going to naturally want to do. This is just my opinion. You can disagree. If there are ladies on here, they're like, yeah, I love choking on dicks. I love it. Turns me on. If you're a normal woman, like a motherly normal woman, likes relationships and men, I'd be surprised any of those women would say that. Men should be able to enjoy sex with the woman with a lot of eye contact, sensuality, tuning into her body. And the woman likewise should be not just laying there, she should be actively engaged, attuned to her body, attuned to her emotions, so she can feel his emotions as well, be attuned to what he likes and doesn't like. And maybe some people just aren't sexually compatible. I had this guy that was like a super great guy that I hooked up with after my divorce. He was like a super great guy, but he was only able to get turned on with the choking. But he was otherwise like a super great guy. And so we just weren't sexually compatible, because I just felt like I could never satisfy him unless I was willing to do that. And I don't want to do that. So I'm like, well, if I just do my blowjobs the way that a typical man would like, who wasn't ruined by porn, he's never going to be satisfied. I can't satisfy him. It's too late. He's watched too much porn. So again, and he was a very empathetic person, but it was all the stimuli of the porn that he got habituated to. That type of arousal is what he needed. So yeah, the empathy thing. Now, can people change? People can definitely stop watching porn, and they do. And I've talked to so many people who have. And in that case, you can just use your imagination. You should be able to masturbate, guys. Masturbate just using your imagination, okay? Imagine some beautiful neighbor, the woman you work with, or some fantasy thing you've seen in porn. But try to be able to get aroused without violence, so that when you're with the real woman, you can enjoy her. As far as the empathy part, that's a really tough one, because I don't think that people want to change. I don't want to change. Like, nobody wants to change. Like, I'm good the way I am. I don't want to change. Nobody wants to change. People only change when they're in enough pain. I made a video the other day about DV abusers, and Lundy Bancroft, who is an expert on these abusers, has written a book about it and taught courses and seminars about it to other professionals. He says it's very rare for these abusers to change. The only hope you have is if they're also in some kind of a court-required program, and they do intensive therapy, and they take accountability for every act of DV and disrespect that they've committed. Because as long as they say, I was entitled to do that, oh, that wasn't a big deal, they're never going to change. So if you're with a guy who doesn't have empathy, he first has to see that it's a problem. He has to acknowledge it's a problem, and he has to want to change it. Just from, I've done some coaching courses from Terry Real, not coaching courses, they were relationship courses, and in a couple of those we got to sit in and view as he was working with actual couples. And it's very hard for people to change. It's very, very, very difficult. The only time these men or women were willing to change is when they risked losing one of their kids in divorce or losing their spouse in divorce. That it had to come to that. But even in my case, I was married to a guy who was emotionally avoidant because he also grew up in that time and he didn't want to change, okay? And even though me leaving wouldn't get him to change, he didn't want to change even though I was going to leave him. So in that case, it was better for him to just stay the way he is, and I'm not going to shame him for that. You know, he didn't have to change and become more emotionally available, but that's what I'm saying. Even though he was so sad when I left, and he was very, very sad for many, many months, just the way I was sad with the emotional unavailability, you know, he was fine. But then when I left, that's when he felt the pain. But it was easier for him to go through that pain. It was deep pain. He looked really, really bad. Like, I thought he was dying when I saw him a few months later. That was preferable to changing. And I'm not saying that he was wrong, okay, because he's fine. What I'm trying to say is that people don't readily change. You know, an alcoholic only quits drinking. They say you have to hit bottom. You have to get to a point where you're like, I'm in so much pain, I want to change, I need to change, I'm willing to change. Like someone who's obese and their doctor says, oh my God, if you don't change your diet, you're going to be a diabetic, you're going to have a heart attack. People will change their diet like that. But otherwise, they're fine just being fat or whatever. So I wouldn't hold out hope for anyone to change. The only change you can make is we can change ourselves. And even that's hard. I've tried to change myself. Sometimes I get super triggered by random guys who try to email me or text me or whatever. They find my number. I get so annoyed and I just want to tell them that they're a loser because I didn't ask to be contacted. It's harassment. And I've tried for years to not get mad at them. I don't know how to do it, you know. I'm like, well, you shouldn't have done that. So if you're with someone who doesn't feel comfortable with their emotions, you just have to accept that. That's what I think. I think that we shouldn't change people. We can tell them our preferences, but it's really up to them if they want to meet our preferences or if they think it's worthwhile. And for most people, it's very safe to be just as they are. Like, I'm going through the comments on a video I made about, you know, if you want to be in a relationship, you have to get comfortable starting conversations, inviting people over, starting conversations with someone at the grocery store, the safest person being the cashier, who's always going to be friendly to you. And people were like saying, oh, you mean women are going to be friendly to me? Yes, the cashier will be friendly. Or, well, I'm just an introvert, you know, that's just my nature, that's just who I am. That's bullshit. You're living in a comfort zone, okay? Being an introvert is a story. Some people have preferences for being more alone or being more with other people, but we're all born with the ability to speak to people, to interact with people. But if you're an introvert, you consider yourself an introvert, that doesn't mean that you can't start conversations with people, apply for a job, invite people over for dinner. If you don't want to do that, you have some kind of a thing that you don't want to deal with, just like the person who has no empathy. Okay? But they just say, that's just how I am. People will say, that's just how I am. And it's fine for them to be that way, but when people don't have empathy, when people say they're just introverts, they're cutting themselves off from the flow of life. They're cutting themselves off from who they actually are. They're cutting themselves off from themselves. And that's the sad part. That's why I got so frustrated with my ex-husband, because I'm like, I just want you to be more open and emotionally attuned. I'm not trying to get you to shoot up drugs, steal from a bank, do heroin, you know, or whatever. I'm asking you to do something that actually will make you a better person. But that was my ask. That wasn't his ask. So see what I'm saying? Just because, like, I would be a better person if I never drank wine. If I stopped drinking wine altogether, I would be a better person, right? That would be good for me. But I love my wine with dinner. I do not want to give it up. I would be a better person if I had people come over and had parties. That would be good for me, right? It would be good for me. I would have something to do. I would make more friends. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to have people over for parties. I just want to be left alone because it's a lot of work to have a party. A lot of the friends I've had, they would just turn out to be disappointments. I don't want to deal with the cleanup. I'm just kind of lazy. I don't really want it. I don't care if I have those friends. Um, those are just examples. Like, I think we all have places in our lives, if we're honest, where we don't want to change. Okay, I want you to change to have more empathy. I want you to change to, whatever. But what is it that I don't want to change in myself? So we all have those things. But the point being that to be good in bed, you actually need empathy. Without it, you're just fumbling around. Like the guys that are shut off from their emotions, they don't even know how to touch a pussy. But the guys that are attuned, they're very good at it. Even if they're only 19 years old and or in their 50s and they've only ever been with their wife. And I would know this because when I was an escort, I would see married men. So the ones that were emotionally attuned and where the woman was also enjoying sex and they would talk about what they liked and didn't like, these men became very good. They just had a feel for it. And you can't teach that. It's how some people touch you. It's how people touch you. Have you ever had a massage? I went for a massage the other day. My regular massage lady was not in, so I'm like, I'll just try this other person. My regular massage lady is so good. On the Swedish massage, she does like these long strokes. She's very strong. I give her a really good tip because she's very good. I had given up on massages till I found her. And she can go really deep, and it's relaxing because she uses very smooth strokes. She's very adept at the movement, the touch, how she works the sheets, how she moves my body around, my arms out of the way and so on. It's all very smooth, very relaxing. But the lady the other day, it was bad. It was very jarring. She was trying really hard. I guess it was her first day there. And she's good at Thai massage, but she wasn't good at the Swedish. So I talked to someone after to give some feedback because this lady didn't speak English very well. But this is like a nice massage studio in Carlsbad. It's a professional, very nice. But her touch was so rough. It was rough that it was just making my whole body agitated. I was like, I couldn't wait for the massage to be over, and I thought of telling her that I just want to stop and leave, but I kept thinking maybe it'll get better. It's like, and I'm thinking I'm this embodied, empowered woman, and really I should just tell her I need to leave, but I'm just hoping that something good will happen because I was trying to get relaxed, but she was stressing me out. My whole body was responding to her very tense touch, her jarring movements, even the way she handled the sheet. But she was trying to please me. She was like, more pressure? Is this too much pressure? Is this too much? Do you want more? She just didn't have the feel for it. She just didn't. And so my body reacted very negatively to her touch. So I'm trying to tell you that touch is like super important, how we touch people. Like some guys will do this very tentative touch where I'm like, I'm not going to break. The way you're touching me is creeping me out. I'll be like, okay, grab me a little firmer, like you got me, or, whatever adjustments. But I'm just giving you examples of how people touch us, how they're tuned in. And some people just naturally seem to know how to touch. Like when I massage, if I give a massage to someone, I make sure that I have, some oil, a little bit of oil so it's not dry skin, and I do long, smooth strokes. I don't do this quick, rough thing, which is just so irritating to the nervous system. Those are just some examples. Other things that older guys do that is like so, like sticking a wet tongue in my ear. I'm like, you should know that doesn't feel good. And kissing on my ear, like that is really loud. Have you ever kissed someone on their ear? It's like at 20 times as loud because they're right on the eardrum. Like it's okay to put a tongue in there, a dry tongue, or to whisper close to someone's ear, but you don't want to make noises right on the ear canal. Grabbing the pussy right away, like where did you learn that women like that? We don't. Okay, you gotta get us warmed up first, grab a little bit of booty. Don't go right to the pussy or the breast. Like that is just lame. That is like no game. Even the 19-year-old didn't do that. And I will tell you another thing. I've had, this was after I got divorced. There was this guy I met up with. He was this Marine. He had his own car and everything. Not all Marines have a car. He was a good saver. He was a young guy. I'm like, I'm not going to fuck this guy. He's way too young. I think he was 18 or 19. But we met for a walk on the beach. I was like, I'll meet him for a walk on the beach. He seemed like he had his act together. He was very respectful. And so I met him for a walk on the beach, and I was not going to have sex with him because at that time I was like in my early 50s. I'm like, this guy is just a little too young. I mean, I know he's in the military and he's 18, but that's a little too young for me. And then he told me that he'd never gone down on a woman as we were just talking. And so I thought, well, I guess I changed my mind. So I invited him over and he went down on me. He made me come. Now, how could he do that when he'd never done it? Empathy. The Marine Corps is very good at screening for men who have empathy. They need it. It's a very camaraderie-based thing. They have a brotherhood there. They have social skills. Those guys that are working together, at least, I don't know about the guys in the office, but every Marine I ever knew had a lot of friends, very cohesive. They screen for a certain type of guy who likes the outdoors and who has empathy. They're masculine. They like fitness. They like the outdoors. They usually have like a truck. They like fishing, hunting, the outdoors. They like women. They are respectful and they have empathy. And that's what you need to be good at sex. Somehow he just kind of tuned in and he wasn't too rough. I don't even remember everything he did, but I was surprised he was able to give me an orgasm. Not that orgasm is the end all be all, but I'm just saying, by the way, I think that women, when we have sex, we don't always want an orgasm. Any ladies here who disagree, I want to hear from you in the comments. If you're in a relationship, do you want an orgasm every single time? Because I don't, and I didn't. Because sometimes I like the closeness, the feelings, the adventure of it all. I don't need an orgasm to come. When I tell guys that, they're shocked. Because a guy would never think that having sex and not coming would be great. I mean, a lot of guys are fine with that, but they would, because I would say some of the best sex I ever had, I didn't have an orgasm. It wasn't the orgasm that made it great. It was all the other things about it. Just getting lost in the experience of some guy who just really knew what he was doing, was so passionate and tuned in, or I was so turned on or something like that. So the empathy part is really, really huge. If you want to work on empathy for yourself, I would just start saying, trust your feelings, start to tune into your own feelings. What do I feel? And trust it. And that's one thing I worked on with this therapist a couple years ago. Okay, I hired this therapist, and my goal was trying to get over the remaining resentments I had against my ex-husband. It took me a long time to get over that. And one of the things that I had really struggled with is trusting my feelings, because I always would second guess them. Like, what's wrong with me for feeling this way? How can I get rid of this feeling? A lot of times when I was married and unhappy with my marriage and my sex life, I thought, how can I deal with this feeling? I never thought of leaving him till the night I did at 25 years. I always thought, how can I manage this feeling and get rid of it? Because he didn't care, because he was fine. And not to say I was perfect. There are things I'm sure he didn't like about me, but he didn't say what they were because he was too repressed. This is not to pick on him. Guys, don't come after me in the comments because I decided to make a video sharing about myself. Usually I'd stop doing that because people would get so angry with me in the comments. So if you're going to come at me in the comments, I'm just going to block you. This is just me, sharing. And yeah, so don't come at me in the comments, please, okay? Because that's not respectful. I'm sharing my life. You want to share your life? Make a video, share your life, okay? Then you will have a right to speak. Okay, so were you married 25 years? If you were married 25 years, you can come at me in the comments. But even then, don't, because maybe you had a partner who was emotionally attuned. But anyway, the point being that I was trying to repress my feelings because I didn't know what to do with them. I was so unhappy with the sex part of our relationship and like the going out, like he would just tell me no to everything. And it was so hurtful to me. And I was like, what am I going to do with these feelings? And then later on, I thought, well, what is wrong with me for feeling this way? Or if I could just, not be unhappy with our sex life, then maybe he would be happier with me and stuff like that. It was just minimizing myself because I didn't trust my feelings to tell me a message. And my feelings were telling me I wasn't treated well. I was neglected. And I should have, in hindsight, if I would have said, hey, I'm feeling really neglected. Is there something going on? But he would always say, I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go to therapy. And I would have had to leave him. And then I would have been a single mom with all these kids. And I had a broken family. And I really liked my family life. He was such a good dad, such a good provider. He was a good husband in all other ways. So I put up with that. But I'm just telling you guys that I spent many years negating my feelings, not trusting my feelings, because I grew up at a time when we didn't trust our feelings. Now, feelings aren't a thing that you can use as an excuse to go off on people. Feelings are a way to get information. Like if I'm annoyed, I can just be like, okay, I'm triggered. I got to slow down, get a little space, calm myself down, and see how I want to respond. But my feeling is telling me something. And usually anger or annoyance is saying that someone is violating my boundaries. So if you're not enjoying the sex that you're having, then you can speak up and talk to your partner, and hopefully your partner will care. But how to develop empathy is to start to trust your feelings, that they're giving you information. Doesn't mean you act on them. Don't act on them yet. Just listen to them, honor them, see what they're telling you, and start to make friends with your feelings. If you're angry, chances are somebody has violated a boundary, okay? But some people have borderline personality disorder and they get angry and throw things and hit things, like even women do that because they feel entitled to do it. So you can't just like act out. I think that actions, like the way we talk to people and how we act, has to be based on some sense of calm. Like an example of that I've had to do is sometimes I get triggered by, I used to get really triggered by the comments and then I would make a rebuttal video. Now I catch myself. I'm not going to make videos when I'm triggered, okay? I'm going to make videos based on the content that I want to make. Or I read something online on Twitter, let's say, and I want to reply. I'm like, whoa, I don't need to reply to everything. So those are just examples of like, just because I want to reply, just because I want to rebut, just because I want to do something, I don't have to. Like, if you want to have a conversation with your spouse, you're like, oh my God, I really have to have this conversation. It's better to just pick a time. Like with my ex-husband and I, we were not fighters. We did not fight. But we would like, we were more likely to give each other the silent treatment for 2 or 3 days at a time because neither one of us likes to argue or fight. But if I had something to discuss with him or he had something to discuss with me, we would pick a time on the weekend when he was relaxed and available to talk. We were both available to talk. It doesn't have to be done right then. So just be in control of yourself, okay? Honor your feelings, but don't let your feelings like make you turn into a psycho. You have to have boundaries. Boundaries means what comes in and what comes out. Like what comes out of me has to be respectful. Of course, if people are disrespectful to me, I'll go off on them. I'll be like, you loser, you're blocked. Like, don't just come at me on LinkedIn being like, hi, beautiful. Like, I'm going to be, you loser, you're blocked, for example. But I'm not just going to go attack people out of the blue. Sometimes people deserve to be told off. But anyway, so what comes out of me has to be respectful. So if you want to have more empathy, there's a really good book called The Language of Emotions. I think I've made videos about that. Start to get comfortable with your emotions and how to deal with them. And they give you a lot of information. I could make videos about that again. That is a really good book, The Language of Emotions. But again, a lot of people don't want to change who they are. So in summary, what makes men and women good in bed is having empathy, not watching porn. And for women, I'm going to add just being comfortable in your body. Don't worry so much how you look. When you're with a guy in bed, he doesn't care about your stretch marks or your cellulite or whatever. And I know because they've told me, but I believe it. Because like, say I go into the gym, I go into the locker room, and there are a lot of women getting dressed and undressed. And a lot of them are older ladies who go swimming. They're very fat, very out of shape. But somehow there's a beauty to their form. And I'm like, wow, that's what men see. They just see a naked woman is like amazing. You do not have to be a fitness model to be amazing. If you're a naked woman, you're amazing already. Okay, there's a mystique and a beauty to a naked woman. So don't obsess about how you look. Just be in your body, enjoy yourself, and hopefully your partner will see the beauty in you. That's so important, that they see that you're beautiful, that they enjoy looking at you, that they're enjoying you. I think what women have to do is be comfortable in their own bodies. You don't have to have tucked face or, I'm old. Guys still want to fuck me. They still think I'm beautiful. But I have a big nose, hook nose. I have a lot of wrinkles. I have stretch marks. I have cellulite. I have bow legs. My breasts are a little droopy. They don't care. They still think I'm beautiful. So ladies, don't be so hard on your bodies. Number one, be comfortable in your body and be comfortable in your sexuality and enjoy yourself in bed. The best thing you can do, ladies, is enjoy yourself in bed. That's what men want. They want to see you enjoy yourself. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't gag on penises if you don't want to. I certainly don't want to. I'm not going to do it. But enjoy yourself. I subscribed to this female porn director a while back just to see her videos. I was very curious, and there was this woman giving a blowjob to her husband. It was like a 20-minute long video, and it was extremely sensual. She never once gagged on his penis, and he loved it, and she was just like really getting into it. Like, you don't have to copy porn. If you're embodied, you can be like, well, what do I want to do? What would feel good to me? How do I want to touch him? And just look in his eyes. It's like, does this feel good? How do you like it? Just go nice and slow. Guys who masturbate a lot are like desensitized. They're not going to be able to come from a blowjob. They need a firm stroke of their own hand. And when you're at this point where you're like a robotic machine, we're done. We're stopping, okay? Because you need a machine job. I just thought of that on the fly. You need a machine job. You can't get a hand job or a blow job because blowing in hands are not doing it for you. You need like a suction machine, like industrial grade. Guys, if you're desensitized from over masturbating to porn, use a lighter grip and get lube. It'll take you a few weeks or maybe a couple months to get your nerve endings back because you've numbed them out. You've destroyed them, okay? And there is no vagina, no mouth or hand of a woman that can make you come if you have numbed your nerve endings and killed them off. You don't have to be a squirter. I'm not a squirter. Guys still, hey, if you need a squirter, I'm not for you. You have to go elsewhere. If you're only going to enjoy sex with me because you need a squirter, I don't want to be with you. If you can only have sex with me because I'm going to gag on your penis, I don't want to be with you. If you can only have sex with me because I come from penetration, I don't want to be with you because I can't please you. And I don't want to be with a man who can't be pleased by me just authentically being me and enjoying what typical women enjoy. I'm not a performance object. I'm not an object. I'm not going to perform. I'm just going to be with you one-on-one in my genuine pleasure, tuned into you, attentive to you, enjoying myself. And if that isn't enough, you need to go elsewhere and go back to your porn or find some porn girl or whatever. Ladies, you don't have to compete with that stuff. If a guy wants you to do all that, he should hire a porn star. So to enjoy sex, I think we have to have empathy. We have to enjoy our sexuality, be comfortable in our bodies, be relaxed and not nervous. That helps. Not copy what's in porn, not expect what's in porn. Guys, not to expect the woman to do what's in porn, and ladies, not to do what you see in porn because then you're just performing. And when you're performing, you're not in your body, you're not in your pleasure, you're in your mind thinking what you should do, you're not going to be turned on. And there's a feedback loop, like the more I get turned on, the guy can feel it, he gets more turned on, then I can feel we have this feedback loop. So I was just going to make a 5-minute video. It's 37 minutes. And this was from someone in the who's a member, and one of the members' videos had asked me to make a video about how to tell a guy what I like in bed. So I talked about empathy, and then this person asked if I could talk more about empathy and how to develop it, and if I could make a video for the public channel letting people know what I talk about in the members' videos. In the members' videos, I talk a lot about more about my personal experiences, which I threw out a little bit of it here, but I'm always afraid to do it because in the past, there were always guys that would get very triggered and get very angry, and I don't want to talk about things that upset people. I don't like it when people leave really bad comments, like those angry manosphere guys. So I even no longer have my bike on my video because some men get very upset seeing that the tires aren't pumped up, and I don't want to trigger men or upset them. So I just decided, I'm not going to talk about my personal life. I'm not going to show my bike anymore. So I had to set my camera up so that the bike wasn't on there. And I can see why men would be upset, like they want to pump up that bike. But here's the thing about the bike. I don't ride the bike. I'm not going to ride the bike until I get a different car or someone with a truck can take me on a bike ride. I paid a mobile bike repair guy to tune up my bike, pump up the tires, and a few months later it was flat again. He had fixed a leak, but there are some more leaks apparently. I have a pump, but why should I pump up and have this guy replace the tires when I'm not riding the bike? And I live in an apartment. I don't have another place to store it. But some guys get very angry with me for the bike. I don't want to make videos that get people angry. I don't want to be like Candace Owens trying to rile people up. I don't. So in this video, I shared a little bit about my personal life. If I get angry comments, that's going to stop. But in the members area, I talk a lot more about my personal life. In the members area, I reply to the comments, and there are no ads in the members videos because I figure they're paying $4.99 a month, so I don't need the ad revenue. I don't have that many members anyway. There are fewer than 50, maybe 30 or something, 20 or 30, I think. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say on this video. The comments are back on. um, so hopefully we'll get some comments on this. And thank you so much for watching my video. And to the person who asked me to make the video, thank you for your inspiring me to make this video.